All right. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to I Launched Our Church website. Now what? First of all, thank you for kind of going with me here. If you signed up at the very beginning, I planned on this being just a regular webinar in our webinar platform. And we got into it and decided, this might be more fun trying something different. So that means that you all didn't get to choose to try something different. Well, I guess you get to choose whether you come or not. But yeah, this is. I thought it might be fun to try this as a live stream, and so right now we should be on YouTube and LinkedIn and Facebook. So if you're there and you try to chat, hopefully I'll be able to see your chat and we can communicate. But if not, you can always reach me afterward. But I want to start by just sharing a little bit about why this topic is important to me personally. So I co-founded Louder Agency, the agency that I help run that serves nonprofits and churches. Co-founded Louder around 2010, and we started off as just a website shop. We did strategy, design, build, and support specifically for websites. And I've been building websites since like the late 90s, I guess, but professionally since 2004. And so in 2010, we were building custom websites and blogs for all sorts of people all around Nashville, which is where I lived. And oftentimes the story would go something like this. A client would come to us and say, I need a new website. And so then we would build a new website, and that client would get really excited about blogging, because that was the really important thing back then, blogging and really engaging new people. And so they would start to do that, and it was crickets. Nothing would really happen. Nothing would change. And as their web guy, I really wanted my client to succeed. I really wanted them to not only love their website, but also to really consider that website an asset that's advancing their mission, and not just an expense that's actually taking money and resources away from their mission. So I quickly realized that, the old, if you build it, they will come, doesn't really apply to websites. Just because you build it and launch it does not mean that people will come. Launching a website is like putting up a billboard in the middle of the desert. People don't just magically find it, at least not at scale. A website it's just a tool, but it has to be part of a much larger system, a much larger plan. So for that billboard in the desert, you've got to pave a road that goes by the billboard so that people, can drive by it. But just because the road's there doesn't mean people drive, right? So you have to create a destination that gets people on that road. You need to put signs up on the main road that point people down your road so that people can see your billboard and then hopefully take the action that you want them to take, which was the reason that you put up the billboard in the first place. And all of that extra effort, all of that work, that's marketing. And that is what a lot of people who launch a website are missing when they launch a website. They don't consider a website part of a larger marketing plan. They just think of the website as a means to an end by itself. And especially for churches, that's important because a website is a part of a larger plan to reach your community. It is not the thing that reaches your community all by itself. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. So let's see if we can get all this technology going the way that we need to. Perfect. So here's what we're going to cover today. If you signed up on our page, this is what you saw that you signed up for. So the only 4 traffic types that you need to get visitors to your website, how your website fits into your overall outreach plan, the 10 essential church homepage elements, which we're going to go through kind of quickly, but it's important, how to qualify for free advertising dollars from Google if you want to, where to look to know what's working and what isn't for your website, and how your entire congregation can help promote your website with just a little bit of effort on your part. But first, as Simon Sinek says, let's start with why. So why does your website traffic even really matter? Why should you put your limited time and resources into getting more visitors to your website? It used to be that people would invite their friends to church, and then they would just wait for them to show up one Sunday morning and know that the greeters at the door are going to welcome them, and hopefully they'd be able to meet up and sit together during the service. And that certainly still happens, but things tend to work a little bit differently now. Your first impressions team isn't the people in the parking lot or the people who are greeting folks at the door anymore. Your website is your new first impressions team for your church. It's the first experience that many people are going to have with you and your community. And note that I said experience. You've got to consider your website experience for your visitors. How does your online experience compare with your in-person experience? I'm getting a little ahead of myself on that, so we'll get more to that in a second, but your website matters. How you reach your community has also changed. how do you define success in your church? So I know a lot of churches define success with something like lives changed, which is great. I mean, that's really the purpose of church, right? It's great until you actually try to measure that goal, and it's especially difficult if you try to measure progress toward lives changed. Lives changed is very much a lagging indicator, as we would say in business, right? It's more of a destination than it is a mile marker. And so, to figure out how are we making good progress towards actually being a church that's helping to change lives in our community, we look at indicators that lead to, or at least that increase the likelihood of changing lives. Things like are people getting involved? Are they serving on teams? Are they joining groups? Are they attending events? And then you've got to ask, though, now what leads to those activities? Can we go up a level? And can we go up a level from that? Ultimately, it comes down to, are we as a church actually reaching new people and then taking them on this journey where they can keep taking these steps to get closer to Jesus, closer to life change, right? If you want to impact more lives, you have to reach more people in your community. It's kind of as simple as that. And one way, not the only way, but one way to do that is to reach people online by sending them to your website, because they're probably going to check out your website first anyway. It is the new front door to your church. So if the goal is lives changed, we don't actually do that work. We just play a part in that work. So what are we really trying to accomplish? Well, we want to do our part in the work of lives being changed. Now, here's a lesson that I learned back when I was on staff at a small church back in Nashville. I was the administrative pastor part-time, which you all know what that means if you are in ministry. And one of my responsibilities was communications. So I asked several of our key leaders how they ended up at our church. And the common story was something like this. One day, they randomly saw our church name at just the right time when they were going through some kind of a life event or experience, and they had felt something inside of them pushing them to find a church or to go visit a church. And that's not really a scientific study or anything on church marketing, but I think it is in line with Scripture. Because our job isn't to really sell Jesus or to convince people to show up at our church with some compelling marketing campaign. And not that there's anything wrong with doing big marketing campaigns necessarily, but that's not really the job. The job is to scatter seed. We present the invitation with excellence, of course, but we don't try to really like manipulate or wow people or convince them. It's really much more promotion than it is direct response marketing or brand awareness marketing, more so than direct response marketing. We are just getting the message of the church out, making sure that we are reaching people and raising that awareness. And since we know that people are going to visit the website on their process to visit the church anyway, we can build the website into our promotional activities, give people a reason to go to the site up front rather than just inviting them to the building and then them going to the site first on their own. But before you start driving traffic to your website, you do need to do a little pre-launch checklist. So driving traffic is kind of like pouring water into a bucket. Before you turn on the faucet, you really should check the bucket for holes. And so starting with your homepage, because that's the most important and most visited and front door to your website, let's do a quick checkup on where you're going to send people before we talk about how you should send them to your website. So there are 4 tests that I like to do. One of them is the headline test. In case you haven't noticed, people tend to skim on the internet. They don't read a whole lot of the small words. They really focus a lot on the big words. So it's our job when we're putting together our website, our church website, to make those big words actually count. So here's the test. What does a visitor learn about your church if they only read the headlines on your homepage? So consider the difference between, say, welcome to our website and about us and our mission, our events, our ministries. That tells you that this church has a mission and they do events of some kind and they have different ministries, right? But it doesn't really tell you anything unless you put in the extra effort to read the smaller words that hopefully fall underneath or around those big words. Now take, for example, if instead you actually said something meaningful, which might have a few more words to it, but you can compress it down as much as possible in those actual headlines for the different sections on your homepage. So discover your community and experience Jesus together, or kid and family focused could be a headline leading into a section about, about ministries or about kids or your overall approach, Or even just rather than saying our mission as a headline and then having small text that actually says something about your mission, just put your mission out there. Our mission is to this, or we believe this. You could also say, find community events for all ages, or something that leads the visitor to know something about the events that you do. Are they service projects? Are they internal? Are outsiders welcome? Are they just kids events or youth events or adult events? Even find a place to learn and get involved, or something about, try to find things that you would want a visitor to know about you and try to sprinkle them into your actual headlines, and not just make the headlines kind of the informational signs and then make them read the smaller text. Okay, second test is the 4x4 test. This is one of my favorites. So in about 4 seconds, your visitors should be able to answer these 4 questions. Who are you? What do you do? Why should I care if I am your audience? And then what should I do next? This all should happen in the top section of your website. Usually this means make sure that you do actually have your church logo and it's something that someone can read at the top of your website. Make sure that you have a headline and maybe a subheadline in the top section of your website that says something about what you believe as a church, what makes you who you are as a church compared to any other church. If I don't know anything about any of the churches in your town, what makes you who you are? What do you believe about why you exist and the type of person that comes to your church and what they're going to get out of it? Now, one other thing to note on messaging in general for churches, oftentimes when you're speaking to visitors of your website, and your website, especially your homepage, should really focus on those visitors, those first-time visitors or prospective visitors, you might need to speak a little closer to their felt need rather than what their actual need is. For example, people might feel like they want a safe place for their kids now that they have kids to attend a church, even though maybe they haven't been to church in decades. Or they might feel like they need community. They need better friends who are going to actually support them and just help them be a better person in life. That might be more of the felt need. Now, you may very well know that that's great, but if that's where things stop, that's not really good enough. What they really need is to go deeper in relationship with Jesus. But if that's not what they're feeling, that's not what's going to engage with them. And so I'm not saying to do any kind of bait and switch or anything like that, but thinking about your messaging so that you can speak to the felt needs of the person who is interested in coming to your church without being insincere in any way. And so that's what do you do and why should I care? So what's in it for me? How is this actually going to change my life if I attend and start to get involved in this community? And then what should I do next? Give me clear options, not too many options, but clear options about what to do next. How can I plan a visit? How can I watch a sermon? How can I find out more information? So make those things very clear at the top of your website without having to scroll too much, without having to look around. Make your members actually jump through the hoops of clicking around and finding the content that they need, not your first-time visitors, because your members are probably going to work a little harder if they need to, or you may even be shuffling them to an app or some other way to consume information about the church. Whereas those first-time members or those first-time visitors, you want to make things as easy as possible for them to understand who you are and what they will get out of attending. So third is the 10 essential homepage elements, right? Okay, so there's not one right way to build a church homepage, but there are hundreds of ways to add unnecessary friction to your visitor's experience. Like I was just talking about, your homepage should be very, very visitor focused. And so thinking about why we recommend the 10 elements I'm about to go over can really help you put together an intentional homepage for your church that guides and engages those visitors. Now, I could spend 30 minutes talking through these 10 elements and pulling up different examples. We don't have time for that. This is a traffic talk. And so I'm going to go through these 10 elements rather quickly. I'm happy to unpack them more later with you if you really want to talk through those or look at your website together and figure out ways that could be improved. But so that you can see our 10 elements of an effective church homepage, we're going to jump in. And the first one is the header. The header is the section at the very, very top of your website, of your homepage. It's the section that typically has your logo and then a menu, and then hopefully one of those menu items stands out and it's different to be that clear call to action. What should I do next? If you are considering your homepage focused on prospective visitors, that button that is a different color that stands out should probably be something like plan a visit or I'm new here, not necessarily donate or join a small group or get involved or something like that. So keeping that in mind, the header is at the very top. Your High Converting Church homepage should include a simple, clear header. All right, next, the hero. Your High Converting Church homepage should tell a story of transformation. So I mentioned this a minute ago with that headline and subheadline in the hero section. So the hero section is that top section. So it's below the header, but it usually has maybe a video or a big picture included in it, a headline, a subheadline, and then a button or two. That section is the hero section, and it needs to tell that story of transformation. Make a promise to the visitor about what they will experience if they get involved in your church community, and then show that. Try to demonstrate that with a video or with photos so that they can see the experience, they can see the people, and they can see kind of that transformation, that outcome. What do the people who are in your community now look like? Number 3, service times. So easy to forget to make your service times really, really super obvious on your homepage, but your High Converting Church homepage should clearly state your service times. Sermons. Your High Converting Church homepage should provide access to sermons. A lot of people want to see what that service experience is like, and in particular, what the sermon or the message is like, so that they know whether it resonates with them or not. I mean, one of the beauties of the church is the church is very diverse. There are lots of different types of churches and church experiences, and especially here in America. And so let people see what that experience is like and let them dig into even what you believe. Speaking of what you believe, number 5 is mission. Your High Converting Church homepage should clearly state the unique way that you address a problem that exists in the world. So hopefully all churches, generally speaking anyway, have the same overall mission or Great Commission, right? But specifically, how does your church address the needs of the people in your community or around the world? What is the mission of your church? And make that really clear on your homepage. Number 6, events. Your High Converting Church homepage should tell your audience what's happening. Churches have a lot of events, and making those events easy to access, and especially trying to position those events from the perspective of the visitor. That is key. Don't just say we're doing this men's event on Thursday morning of pancakes and bacon and Bible, right? But say if you want to connect with other men who want to go deeper in their faith, join us for pancakes and bacon and Bible on Thursday, right? So position your events from the perspective of what's in it for you. If you are looking for this outcome, here's an event for you. And if not, move on. Speaking of moving on. Okay. Number 7, social proof. Your High Converting Church homepage should include meaningful social proof. Social proof means testimonials, experience stories, the stories of the people who are in your community. Show a picture like this example and have someone tell a story that is specific about what their life was like before this church and what their life is like after, or something that they were scared about before attending the church, but how that fear was overcome and they were wrong because it's so much better, or just a specific attribute about this church is really good at this thing and that's meaningful to me because of this. Opt-in. Your High Converting Church homepage should have some type of email opt-in for updates and announcements. There are going to be some people who either have not attended and may possibly want to just get more information, more people who actually have attended maybe a few times, but you want those sort of early attenders to get on an email list so that they can start to get regular updates and then hopefully become regular attenders and move on down the line. Some churches may even have specific opt-in resources that you would have available that you could provide for people as well. It's less common in the church, but having that clear email sign up so that people can get engaged with you beyond just showing up on Sunday morning in person or having to find you on social media is great. Number 9, plan or final call to action. So your High Converting Church homepage should show your audience their next move. That can be one call to action. Here is the one thing for you to do, plan your visit. It could be a plan of here's what you can do. Well, watch a sermon online. Come visit, and then, then get involved in a group and then, go deeper in your relationship. You can kind of walk people through a plan and give them those links kind of in order and they can figure out, well, this is where I am. I've already watched a sermon or two. I feel comfortable, or I don't need to do that. I'm ready to plan my visit. Or I have already been visiting a few times. Yeah, I think it is time to join a group. You can put that on your homepage and give people a clear, it's not only what to do next, but it also shows a picture, or what to do right now, but it shows a picture of what's next in your journey here at this church. And number 10, a footer. So all the other links that you took out of the menu at the top, all the extra stuff, put it down in the footer. This is a place for your social media links that people, it's not your primary call to action. It's not the main thing you want them to do. But if they want to find you on social media, people are generally going to look at the top of the website and the bottom of the website. So make it easy for them. Have your logo down there. Have your social media links. Have your address and phone number there. So it's also very easy to find. Put all of those extra sort of internal links, the stuff that's for the members, not necessarily for visitors. Put all that down in the footer. Don't clutter up the menu at the top. Make the top really, really easy. So those are the 10. Here's a quick action plan that you can do based on those 10. So which of the 10 elements do you already have on your homepage? And can you make any improvements to any of those? Basically, what's already good about your homepage based on these 10 things? What needs improvement? What's missing altogether? So what do you need to add because it's not there? And then the fourth is what's extra? What do you have on the page that maybe you actually don't need that you should get rid of from your homepage? Make a quick plan for that. And then we'll move to the fourth thing here. So we did the headline test. We did the 4x4 test. We ran through the 10 essential homepage elements. And now tracking analytics. Before you start driving traffic, the fourth thing you should do is make sure that you have some kind of analytics tracking set up on your website. It doesn't have to be complicated. In fact, it shouldn't be complicated, but you've got to be able to track just a few important website metrics. This will help you know from an online promotions and marketing standpoint what's working and what isn't. So Google Analytics is your friend here. If you don't like Google, that's fine. There are other options, but Google is free. It gives you a lot of good options out of the box. And with just a little bit of extra setup, it can go a really long way in just giving you insight into what's working with your website. Now note, they are sunsetting the universal tracking, one way that Google Analytics worked with your website. And so really soon, you've probably been getting emails, or someone's been getting emails about this if you use Google Analytics already. Soon, you're going to need to switch that over to the new version, which is called GA4. If you need help with that, we actually are doing that for clients. So you can always reach out and we can assess what you have set up on your website now and help you get that Google Analytics 4 set up if you want to. But what you need to be tracking inside of Google Analytics or whatever analytics would be your traffic sources. You need to be able to see, how are people getting to our website? Is it from a social media post? Is it from an email platform? Is it just from a Google search? So traffic sources need to be in there. I've seen some church hosting providers or platforms, hosting platforms that just don't give you as much as Google Analytics, but they will let you add Google Analytics if you want to. So you've got to make sure that you're tracking sources, that you're tracking the pages that people are actually visiting. It's a lot more valuable to know how many people went to my homepage, how many people went to my I'm new here page, how many people went to our small group sign up page, not just how many people visited our website overall in the last month. A lot more valuable to be able to track the pages visited. Third is campaigns. This is what's called UTM parameters. It's just the thing that Google created so that it can track specific campaigns. Now, if you're running like paid ads, or if you are sending emails out through an email marketing platform, they're probably automatically adding these UTM parameters. Or if you're working with like an agency or a freelancer to do any of that activity, they may be adding those UTM parameters so that you can track the performance of specific campaigns that you're running. So it's just important that your analytics platform supports that. Next is events. So what events, and I don't mean events like the events that you do at your church, events that happen on your page. So when you submit a form, or when you click a button, or even if you visit a particular page that's like a confirmation page, you need to be able to track those events in Google Analytics so that you can see people came from this traffic source, they went to these pages, and then they did these events on our website. If you've got like an RSVP for your plan a visit page, or even like have coffee with a pastor or VBS signups, you should be able to track all of those events and see how many people did those and where they came from. Also, advertising pixels. If you're going to do any kind of advertising, even if you're not planning on doing it now, setting up those pixels now is really important because it starts to build up the audience of people who have engaged with your website. So that if you wanted to start to do advertising in the next month, 3 months, 6 months, you can go back and you can actually show an ad to the people who have been to your website over that period of time. So setting up those pixels so that you can both do what I mentioned a second ago and build those audiences of people, but also so that you can set up your conversion events with those pixels too, so that those same form submissions or button clicks can get attributed back to particular ads if you're running ads. All right, so this is how you see what's working and what isn't on your website. What path would you expect people to follow? And are they following that path? Where are you sending them first? Your homepage? What's after that? Is it the I'm new here or plan a visit page? Is there any kind of that RSVP or event tracking set up right now? Does a rise in your website traffic over a certain period actually correlate to a rise in visitors in that same period or shortly thereafter? These are the things you need to look at to see what activity you're doing that's driving traffic is working or isn't working. All right, so now it's time to dig into the good stuff. It is time to dig into the 4 main traffic types. Also, I'm looking at my window and the weather is getting a bit frightful out there. We're expecting the possibility of tornadoes. So, hey, if I get cut off of this live stream, just say a quick prayer for me. Everything's probably fine. I'll just be dashing to the basement, but it's fine. Everything's good. Quick prayer. We're good. For now, we're good. Let's dig in with the 4 main traffic types. Okay. Number 1 traffic type is paid advertising. A lot of churches are afraid of paid advertising. Maybe you have boosted a post and it didn't work on social media. Maybe you signed up for a Google ad grant, but it just got really confusing. And so you didn't want to even try to start to run it because you were afraid to. Advertising can be intimidating. Advertising, like with say boosting a post, it's also really easy to spend money very inefficiently. But there can be value for some churches to do advertising in the right contexts. And so let's talk about what that would look like. One type of traffic to send to your website would be paid ads. This is typically search ads, which really means Google, because right now anyway, Google is still the number 1 search platform in the world. Number 2 would be social ads, which would be your Meta. So Facebook and Instagram would be Meta, right? Could also be Twitter. Could also even be TikTok. There are other options, but the biggest one is certainly still Meta. There are other options. This could also be YouTube video ads, which is kind of an extension of Google, really, and functions more like a search engine, really, than a social media platform. For churches, with Google, you do have the option of the Google Ad Grant. It can be a way to reach people who are searching phrases that are relevant to your church in search ads. If you're an eligible 501c3, which most churches are, a charitable organization, you can get up to $10,000 per month in Google ads, their text search ads, completely free every single month. That $10,000 resets every month. It's really mostly about how much of that you can spend in ways that actually target the right keywords for people going to the right pages of your website. Most churches qualify for this as long as you're okay accepting Google's terms of service. And if you don't, you can certainly still just run regular Google ads if that's appropriate at a low dollar amount. But knowing that you only have to cover that management, either time or cost, to manage a Google ad grant, and you don't have to worry about that ad buy up to $10,000 per month, can really help a lot of churches get a lot of exposure. So you do have to maintain compliance once you have that active Google ad grant, which just means they've got more specific rules about how the ad grant money gets spent than just regular Google ads if you were just paying out of pocket. And so you've just got to make sure that you follow those rules appropriately so that you keep your account active. And if you don't, they just deactivate your account. You can always come back and figure out what you did wrong and what you need to improve upon. So you can use a lot of different tactics to show up for church-related searches in with just regular like post content or page content on your website. You can even do some email opt-ins, like offering a prayer request form on some of that content that's specifically designed for your Google Ad Grant search traffic. You could even do like an RSVP for services again, so that you can do more than just get eyeballs to the website, but actually try to have some people submit their information and do some follow-up. And this is all part of Google's Google for Nonprofits program. So you can search more on your own at google.com/nonprofits and dig into that whole program, see what they offer. If you need help, happy to help. We can chat through that sometime. But this is a Google Ad Grant or Google Ads. Same tactics would work if you're running Google Ads as well. On social media, number one rule is just please don't boost posts. Boosting posts is the easiest way to just give Mark Zuckerberg more money and not really see any meaningful results. So please just don't boost posts. Learn the ads manager just enough to run real ads. Your options and your reporting are just so much better that way. I recommend for churches, use broad geographic and demographic targeting for churches and run more reach ads to help raise awareness. It kind of goes back to what we talked about earlier. Church marketing to me is much more about promotion and awareness than it is sort of the direct response marketing where you're trying to offer a resource and get people to opt in and then like have kind of a quick conversion. You really just want to get your church out in the world. And so on social media, that's great because compared to say search, on search, people have to actually be searching for specific keywords for you to show up. On social media, you're just showing up in people's feeds, whether they really want to see anything or not. They're looking for, cat videos or TikTok videos that get cross-posted to Instagram that then get cross-posted over to Facebook, right? You're raising awareness. And so just reaching people is pretty cost effective actually on social media if that is your target, rather than trying to target opt-ins or other types of goals. You can use social media to promote specific events. If you're doing, say, kids VBS or a camp, if you're doing like a men's or a women's event, maybe you're doing a summer block party or a fall block party, community yard sale, you could host concerts at your church, or maybe you're doing like a college or young professionals event. All different things that you can promote using social media, and you can target those demographics down to hit different, maybe that's particular groups of people. Maybe you have a college in your community that you're targeting students at that college. Maybe you're just targeting based on age. Maybe you're keeping it really wide open. You can also target based on parents, whether you're a parent or not, if it's a family event. Great ways to promote events. You can also just run regular reach ads all the time and keep a low dollar amount ad going all the time for your church. This could be a tactic you could use for using your sermons and posting sermons, or more ideally clips from your sermons. I know there's like sermon shots. This is not a paid endorsement, but sermon shots will take a sermon and then just give you clips so that you can post them on social media. You could use those for ads, or you could do that on your own. You can also use those ads to promote resources. So if you do have downloadable resources available through your church that would appeal to people who are not a part of your church, you can run ads for those as well, just to try to reach new people and engage them. Social media is also a really good place to do what's called retargeting. So retargeting is when people have either already engaged with you on social media or they visited your website, and you get to sort of follow them around with an ad on social media. I'm sure you've experienced this. That's called retargeting. You can do that too. It doesn't really cost a whole lot, but you do have to have enough website traffic and or social media engagement to be able to build an audience big enough to run those retargeting ads. The good news is, though, retargeting on social media doesn't only work for website traffic that came from social media. So if you were running a Google Ad Grant or doing any other kind of promotional activities just to get more eyeballs onto your website, you can then retarget all of those people with Facebook ads that are retargeting ads. So for targeting, you can still choose some options I mentioned before, like parents and some demographics like that. Facebook has an option for like recently moved that could be useful for churches. What I've seen though is that the numbers of people that show up in those categories, some of those demographics, has just gone way down compared to how it used to be. And so unless you live in a really large city where you can build that like recently moved or recent job change or some of those demographic details about a person, you're probably just not going to get enough people in that audience to make it worth it. I would tend to use, like I said before, very broad targeting options to hit a wide net of people. If your goal is not to target a very specific type of person who is really interested in the church right now, but rather just not knowing like where the Spirit is moving and who is really the right fit, but you can target more broad categories of people and run those ads to just reach a lot more people. That's the approach that I would take to Facebook ads for churches. focusing mostly on that reach or landing page views objective when you set up your ads. You can run a meta ads campaign. So budget's always a question. You can run a meta ads campaign for just a few dollars a day, actually. So like I mentioned doing sermons earlier, you could think about promoting clips from every week's sermon at say between $2 and $5 a day. And each week's sermon you promote for say 7 to 10 days. So there could be overlap where you kind of have those days where you're promoting 2 sermons at once still, or you could even just run it so that you're running the next sermon clip after last week's sermon every week, and you just shut down one ad and start up the next ad. So if you do $2 a day, that's $60 per month of ad cost. It doesn't have to be very expensive. Now there's effort involved in getting those clips and uploading them and creating the ads, sure. But if that is the best resource you have to reach new people and you want it to be constantly fresh, great. You could even just take clips from a sermon each month and keep promoting those out. Now you can also try YouTube ads. I mentioned YouTube ads. This is, I think, less appropriate for most churches, but everything in marketing is an experiment. So you could always experiment with it and see what works and what doesn't. I think that if you're not doing a lot of advertising yet, though, the Google Ad Grant or Meta Ads is probably going to be the better place for you to get started. Okay, second traffic type. Whew, here we go. Second traffic type is organic or owned traffic. These are the accounts that you actually own and control that reach new people. So not accounts that you have to pay money to reach people, like paid advertising, but accounts that you control. This isn't necessarily email, because that doesn't reach new people, but email is a traffic source to your website. It's just a traffic source for people that already have engaged with you because they've opted in for your email in some way. But this is search engine traffic, organic search engine traffic. So not paid and showing up as an ad, but the content on your pages or blog posts or sermons that show up organically in Google, and especially any effort that you put toward that to optimize your search engine traffic, so SEO, search engine optimization, that would be organic or owned traffic. Organic search is actually often the largest source for churches, so it's between 20 and 40%. That's probably partly because organic search can be really valuable. It's also partly because churches don't do a lot of other intentional traffic activity a lot of times. So search is good and bad. Organic search is always good. It is a little bit of a slower game. You don't get immediate results. And it can be a little more passive than other activities because you're only reaching people if they are searching for specific keywords that are actually relevant to your church and you show up. But if people are searching, then you definitely want to show up. So doing a little bit of effort toward search engine optimization with your website and if you do blogging or if you do sermon videos or even sermon posts, or I know my church staff, they do a daily devotional. And so that daily devotional can even be part of just generating some search traffic for people looking for that type of devotional. It's still worth it. If people are searching, you want to be there. For churches, since churches are localized, Google's local box, so that would be the Google My Business profile, what's called the local pack or the map pack, so that whenever someone searches on a map, you can show up on the side, or what's called the knowledge panel. If you've done a search before and you see that little panel on the right hand side that pops up that has like the name and some pictures and some information, that all runs through Google, like Google local search basically, or Google My Business. So that's going to be the first place to go for any kind of SEO for churches. Do that first, and then focus on the rest of your actual website optimization. Because with a website SEO, you can really think of SEO as, I like to say, a 3-legged stool. You've got one leg, which is the technical SEO. That is making sure that your website is running quickly, like the server's running quickly, and that your speed is good, making sure that your code is actually like the way that it should be and it's clean. There's the technical side, just to make sure that nothing's going to get in the way of Google indexing your site and actually matchmaking you with someone who's searching for your site. The second leg is on-page SEO. These are the words that you actually put on the page. So in those title tags and the different tags in the code, or the words written in a blog post or on a page. The words on the page, obviously that's what Google looks at to decide whether this person searching for a particular word or phrase is the right fit for your website or not. And then there's off-site SEO, which is getting links from other people back to your website, sometimes called backlinks. And so that's the third leg. Usually you can, do enough work for technical SEO and for on-page SEO, and then you kind of get to a point where there's not a lot more to do, at least not as quickly as of a pace, but there's always more potential to do more off-site SEO, getting good, high quality people to link back to your website so that Google trusts your website more. This is basically what that means. All right, so that's SEO. Other organic or owned would be social media accounts. So consider how much of your social media is actually reaching new people versus your existing community. Because social media, it is a traffic source to your website. Also consider what posts you're doing that are actually leading to people going to your website. You don't want to have everything be just a link to your website, but you do want to make sure that you are giving people a reason to move from social media to your website when that is appropriate, right? And you've got to think about like a main church social media account versus specific ministry area profiles that you may have for, say, kids ministry or college ministry or something like that. So social media, definitely a traffic source. Doing posts with your sermons and what's coming up, and just having some consistency there is the number one rule for social media. YouTube videos is kind of like SEO. I mentioned a little bit of that before, but it's worth having those sermons on there with a good description. If you have a sermon podcast, that can also be another owned or organic channel that you can use. Just make sure that you are giving people a reason to go to the website and maybe download an additional resource or visit the I'm New Here page or whatever that next step, giving people a clear next step in all of your YouTube videos, in all of your sermons, whenever possible, to get them to the website and hopefully to get them through the doors of your church. And you can notice there's a little bit of an analog between the organic channels and the paid. It's kind of search, social, or the two big ones on both. It's just a matter of whether you're paying for that exposure or you're getting it organically. Okay, number 3, earned opportunities, or as I like to say, other people's platforms. This is anytime that you get to be in front of an audience that somebody else has built. Or another way to think about it for churches is, where is our audience already? Where are the kinds of people who are likely to show up at our church already? Where are they already gathering? And how can we show up there too? So for churches, this could be hosting events or gatherings or meetings in your space, especially if you can have a church representative there and present to promote your website or to promote the church to attendees, or maybe even give them something that promotes the church and the website. You might even need to create a reason for them to go to your website if they attend that event, right? This could be everything from like scouts groups or graduations or MOPS groups, or even like hosting a streaming conference at your church, or having a business group come and meet at your church, something like that. So that could be an earned opportunity. You're getting somebody else's group of people to come to your church or come to your church website in particular. You can also, do service projects. So if you're serving a local ministry or community organization or a school, ask them if they will announce that to their community and link to your website. Create a page on your website about what you're doing. Even if you're asking for volunteers, create a page where people can sign up to volunteer. You may not need that page. You may be able to just say, yeah, everybody show up at 9 a.m., but it wouldn't hurt to create a page, create a very simple form for people to just RSVP and say, yes, I want to come help volunteer. And that's a way for you to get the organization or other organizations to send an email out to their audience that points people back to your website. And again, more website visitors, good website visitors, there should be an increase in more visitors that show up in your church, just the more awareness you get, right? Also, blog posts, interviews, any opportunities you get to speak to different local groups of people, all of this would be earned opportunities. The goal, though, just make sure that you are including some reason for people to visit your church website. So maybe it's offer more information about a particular topic that you're talking about, or watch a particular past sermon that's related, or even just get more information about an upcoming event that's happening at the church. Making sure that you were just intentional about any opportunity that you get to send people to your church website. And then the 4th, intentional word of mouth. Keyword here is intentional. This isn't hope marketing. This isn't, well, I know our people love us, and so they're going to share about it. That's true. They should share about you. People in your congregation definitely want to tell others about the church, right? But you actually have a couple of roles to play to be intentional about making that happen. One, are you explicitly asking them to share with the appropriate amount of consistency? That doesn't mean, are you asking them every single week, hey, make sure you pick up a card and share with your friends? But that could be having a regular sort of scheduled time where once a month or for 1 month out of the year, you're asking people to share, or maybe you have a special leadership gathering and you're asking those leaders to share, or maybe it's in your Sunday school or small group schedule where you've got a particular time where you're going to ask people to share. Have something consistently where you explicitly ask. Don't let a year go by when you haven't had some kind of specific ask where you are asking people to share. Number 2 is, are you reducing the friction for them to share, for your congregation to share your church website with other people? This could be providing resources. So for churches, one idea that I've toyed around with, I haven't actually ever tried this yet, so this is purely hypothetical. You're welcome to try it and let me know how it works or doesn't work. But we do like missions month or different sort of focus areas at different months. So I think we should do a sharing month, a month that's really dedicated to inviting friends. And I don't just mean invite everyone to Easter or invite everyone to Christmas, but a month where we are just talking about how much we love our church and here's what we get out of church and what the church would need to do. So rather than having just individual sporadic sharing that we hope happens on some kind of basis with our congregation, what we do is we turn it into a focused event where everyone is committed and working toward a particular end or goal, right? What this does is it is a high volume, short duration campaign, which for marketing, you always want to do high volume, short duration campaigns. I mean, all the way back to say like radio days, it's a lot more meaningful to hear the same advertisement 3 times a day for 5 days than it is to hear it 1 time a day for 15 days. So you want that high frequency, short duration campaign. So let's say that you give your congregation video clips that you're posting and asking them to share. You're sending out a weekly email reminder with a list of resources. You're giving them graphics or quotes that they can share, making it easy for them to share, You're reducing the friction. You also encourage them to maybe pull out their phones at a particular time in the sermon and take a photo. Make it okay for them to raise their phone up and take a photo of the pastor and the slide behind him of a particular point from the sermon. Ask them to share sermon video clips on social media or a favorite moment or something like that. So you could even try to gamify it, but just being intentional about asking and then giving resources, that's half the battle right there. If you make your sermon series really appropriate for new visitors during that month too is really important, because one reason that people don't share is because their friends' experience when they come to your church directly reflects on them. And if they have any question about what that experience is going to be like, that might be enough for them to not put in that extra effort and go ahead and share with their friends. But if you tell them, hey, this month, this is what we're going to be talking about. And, we are going to be speaking to visitors and, not specifically, but they're really speaking at the level of new people coming in. Then that could help lower that possible barrier for people sharing with their friends. Now, those are the 4 main traffic types. When you're first starting out, it's really good to focus in on one particular traffic type and go deep in that one traffic type. But as you continue to grow, generally speaking, it's helpful to mix those different traffic types. Have a little bit of the paid advertising going, have that organic social media and SEO going, find those earned opportunities to kind of layer on top, and do something so that you are encouraging that sharing on a regular basis among your congregation. The mix of all of those is going to really raise the tide on the visitors that you can intentionally drive to your website. Now, I will say, not all traffic types are created equal. So each traffic type has its own set of pros and cons. Usually there's a mix of sort of high value and high trust and low trust. For example, ads are going to be much higher volume, but much lower trust. If I see an ad, you can reach a lot more people with an ad, much higher volume than, say, if you host an event at your church. That's going to be, limited to the number of people who show up to that event, whereas an advertising audience could be huge. But the trust of you hosting my kid's graduation ceremony from kindergarten at your church and you saying a couple of words at the beginning of that is much higher than my trust of just seeing an ad on my phone. It doesn't mean that you don't do one or the other. It just means that you've got to know that there are different pros and cons and different approaches. You can send an ad out really wide and just know it's going to take more eyeballs to really get a response out, compared to events, but you're gonna have to do a lot more events to hit the same number of eyeballs. So value, trust, volume, even, and then speed. Ads get a quicker response versus SEO, which is going to take many, many months to really build up that search engine optimization. So those are the 4 main traffic types. I know that's really a lot. So how are you feeling? I hope you're feeling okay. Maybe you're excited. Maybe you're overwhelmed. Are you feeling maybe confident about actually implementing some of this stuff? I would love to know, did you learn one thing that you could start to implement right away? That's the really important part, something you can actually feel like you could pull the trigger on and make it happen. I hope it was really worth your time. Was it worth the time and the cost of admission, right? Because the big question is this one. It's what's next? What are you going to do now? I hope that you do 2 things. So I hope first that you start to implement something that I just discussed. Maybe that's the website improvements from the 10 elements. Maybe that's running your first ad campaign that's not boosting a post, setting up your Google My Business, getting in there, or trying out something with SEO, signing up for the Google Ad Grant maybe, or at least researching to see if you're eligible, see if you agree with that, with Google's terms, maybe even trying out that sharing campaign. Pick one thing and start to implement it right away. And then second, if you want help implementing any of all of this, I really hope that you'll schedule a call with me and we can chat through it. Look at your website, talk about what you've been doing, and then see if we might be a good fit to be able to help, because this is what we do. We can help churches drive more traffic, make your website improvements, define your core messaging, and even more creative in marketing services. We can extend your whole communications team for a fraction of the cost of having to hire anyone else full-time on your team. And we've got an incredible team of people who are web and marketing pros who love using their talents and skills to help advance the gospel. So I can give you a few quick examples. If you're still with me here, we've developed a website system that's built specifically for churches. Here, I'll get myself out of that real quick. Built specifically for churches. Here, I think that actually, let me just jump over there. Yeah, there we go. You can get expert setup from our team. We'll actually do the setup for you. Plus, we'll train you and provide ongoing support. We've got all the tools that you need out of the box built into the website, and it's all customized to match your church's look and feel. We even start with a strategy consultation call, so you get the help you need every step of the way. We don't expect you to come in and know exactly how to set up a good church website. We know how to set up quality church websites, and so we can help guide you through that process. And if you also need a fully custom website build, we can figure that out and we can offer that service to you as well. So we'd love to help with the website stuff. As far as the ongoing traffic, we've got month-to-month plans to help churches expand your reach and to get the creative support that you need so that you can focus in on your day-to-day ministry. So landing page builds for events that you're doing. It's always better to have that page to send people to that's specifically built for that page. I mentioned kind of the service project, but even Christmas and Easter, if you're going to run any kind of campaigns for a particular service, building out a page that has consistent messaging and that gives people an option to maybe RSVP or to do some type of action. That's really important. So landing page builds, we can manage Google Ad Grant or Google Ads for you. We can help set up your technical SEO, even some on-page SEO, help provide you with the monthly analytics and reporting that you need. Plus, like I said, all of these are month to month. There are no long-term commitments to our plans. We don't believe in having people give us money if they're not getting value back. And so we make everything month to month. Plus, we offer a full money-back guarantee. So if you get into it and you decide it's not for you, we do not keep your money. We will refund your money. That's great. We are here to help support the church and advance the gospel. So we support local church as well as other nonprofits too, with messaging, marketing, and websites in lots of different ways. So if you're interested, if you have questions, I would love to schedule a call with you and chat about whether we're a good fit or not to just come alongside you in your mission. So if you've got questions, you are welcome to email me. You can try to post in the chat. I don't know with the multi-stream if I'll get all that or not, but the best thing to do is email me, ben@louderagency.com. I would love to answer your questions via email. We can also schedule a quick 20-minute call so we can look at your website, look at your marketing. I can answer any of your questions there and see if Louder is a good fit to help you achieve your goals. So I hope this was good. I really appreciate you all. Thank you so much and have a wonderful afternoon.